As you know, I'm Enrique. I'm from Mexico. I'm back in Mexico after 15 years. So I was away for 15 years. Basically, I studied chemical engineering in the US. I did management consulting in New York for a couple of years. Then did an MBA in London, and then went to work for Samsung in Korea. And that's when, I was very interested in Asia. That's why I ended up in Samsung. My plan was never to be in technology, but I decided to pick Samsung more because of the geography than because of technology. But I ended up actually really seeing everything that technology is doing in the world right now. And I always it always moved me education in Mexico, because I thought that it could be improved when I was in high school. And I came back to build Muktek, which is a software development academy here in the city. What I saw in countries like the US, Korea, where, by the way, Korea is extremely competitive in all senses, and education is a big one.
Interesting.
Is that people kind of, at least what I saw is that people were more open to being cool learning, and this is a thing that I feel like in the less developed countries we might grow with in a culture where the best thing is to have fun, party with your friends and things like that, but less kind of interesting in admiring the young 15-year-old who not only parties, but also is great at school and also is great at sports, let's say. So this is a cultural thing that I experienced. And in terms of the actual systems, I think that you just see more investment in the sector. And I'm comparing really Mexico against these ones, because I haven't been seeing other countries underdeveloped. I was in Africa for doing volunteering for a while, but I couldn't really see the system. I was actually teaching.
Teaching what?
Chemistry. I'm a chemical engineer, so I love chemistry. And so I was just volunteering for this local volunteer organization. I couldn't really see the system, but my theory is that it's really about the investment and the level of attention that the government gives to education that actually flourishes in new innovation by several private entities as well. Actually, there's the example of India. I have studied this a little bit because how India is this tech producing country, and it's I was going to say third world, but that's not nice to say. It's an underdeveloped country that invested a lot through the government, a lot in tech education in high schools in the 90s, and we can see the results, right? All this outsourcing going to India. It's really well organized, and it's been a source of economic power for the country, and I would say that's an exception from what I've seen in the underdeveloped countries really taking a strong stance in education. But that's just my experience. Well, it was weird because, as I told you, I never really thought it would happen. Actually, a lot of people in my master's programs were these technology clubs and things. I was like, no, technology is not my thing. I wanted to do renewable energy, and it's weird. In hindsight, it happened really naturally because, as I said, it was another interest that took me to Korea. That then I started. I ended up in this technology company where I was supposed to do renewable energy in Samsung. I ended up in technology for other reasons as well, and the kind of introduction for me to technology was very I would say very smooth, because I was doing more on I was working on the business development side. But as an engineer, I'm obviously really interested in how things work, and that's when in working with partners in the US such as Oracle or CA Technologies. They were developing applications that would work with Samsung phones, and we would sell to the enterprise. So I had to understand how their products worked, and I was just very curious about how things worked, and it was really kind of the core engineering background that gives, I guess, I don't know if you have it or if you earn it when you're educated, but I was really curious, and it was a very, very smooth transition. But if I look in hindsight, it's very strange, because I always said technology is not my thing, But I was able to to see how these big companies, you know, not only our partners like I said, Oracle, but big companies like Pepsi, Walmart, Coca-Cola, implementing technology. You see how the opportunity is immense, and the level of development that we've achieved as a society is extremely high. Yet all these companies are very slow in adopting it because they're monsters and slow to move. But I was excited about the opportunity that technology brings to help these companies, which means develop more economies around the world. So yeah, that's kind of the more exciting part that I got. Is more really on the impact than on the technicalities. Although yes, I was curious, but that's what really moved me, and that's why then I moved to education and technology, because I think that there's great impact. I think that you know, if in order to think about this future of work, that as you say, it's definitely a trend that everyone is talking about.
Yeah.
If we think about kind of the what are we going to be doing, where are we going to be doing it, and how are we going to be doing it? If we start with the what, then I think that there's as you know, we read all these articles, I do believe that there's some jobs that are going to be kept, some others are going to be created, and some are going to be destroyed. Right? I think that what's going to be kept is going to be all the managerial type of stuff. You know, leadership. You know, people managing people leading vision. That's just a very human thing that should stay unless we have an actual how do you call it, singularity, and then the machines actually take over. Well, then I have no idea, obviously, but I think that's going to be just the same, and that's already very human type of thing. The second one is what's going to be destroyed. Yes, I mean you see already some applications of robotic process automation where you're using simple automation to replace some jobs, and here we talk about data capturing. We talk about kind of some parts of customer acquisition, then also in even HR type of roles where you're just, you know, looking at a candidate and you need to set up a file for this person, and there's processes that are just repeated that you can really just automate. And actually, my partner Muktek is working on that here in Mexico and with a company in San Francisco, and I can see it already starting. You know, so accounting, you know, all this, you know, calculation of numbers, that it's just following certain rules. Definitely is going to be automated more and more, and I think those are the ones that are going to be destroyed. You know? And then the ones that are going to be created is going back to the more human side of things, as you were saying, you know, soft skills, and maybe if we take one of these cases that I mentioned, right? Let's say that a new machine is going to do the work, like the real rough work of calculations for creating a new financial statement, right? Then there's going to be somebody that actually is going to have to sell this output of this machine to the leadership of that company, right? It's not going to be the CEO that's going to just talk to the machine, and, you know, maybe we'll get there too, right? But somebody's going to have to interpret what these computers are doing, and being able to then sell or accompany other humans in this interaction with machines. So that is talking about skills like empathy, like judgment, you know, decision making, this type of thing. So I think we're going to see more of these jobs that are actually taking output from these machines that are doing the very hard work, and then either selling it or using it to influence others, this type of thing, where we are actually using our very, very human thing. In terms of moving about where are we going to be doing these jobs, right? We see today that there's huge mobility already. There's companies now actually creating solutions to help bigger companies manage the mobility of their employees. So it's not only the fact that we have the means to be mobile and to just work from wherever, and then, you know, be remote and mobile. So remote in terms of working from home, which is more and more common. Mobile in terms of teams just you can be moving around the world and working for the same company in same role or switching roles or going into different projects in different places. This has a trend also with the kind of millennial generation that has a lower attention span, and so they might be actually interested in these jobs that where you could be moving countries every so often, right? So there are two kind of trends in terms of like the where, and in terms of the how, I think that definitely it's about being more in touch with technology in general. So no matter what your job is, interacting more with machines and using technology to improve or to make better either your job or what the actual company does in general is something that we're going to see more, and therefore as technology because technology as we were saying earlier, because technology advances so quickly, we may see this process to take place in a sort of it's going to take time. Basically, it's not going to happen at once, right? So the reskilling is something that we're going to have to see more and more, and this is part of what we do today, right? We're teaching some people that may not be software developers to become software developers, right? So this may happen in many of these newly created areas. So jobs that are displaced and jobs that are created where you will need more of this reskilling than before. So it's already happening, but I think we're going to be much more open to learning and switching functions because we need to adapt to the rate at which technology is advancing. So this kind of educational or reskilling piece is important too. That's a huge question. But I think that in terms of, if we think about the future of code and the future of technology, code is really the means or the language that we use to talk to computers, right? Code is evolving all the time because basically we as humans are creators, and when we have this creative part that entices us to create more what we think are better or more efficient or more friendly ways to talk to computers. So these new languages are going to keep coming up, and I hope that they actually become more and more friendly for other humans to be able to talk. So meaning that some of us are going to keep creating new languages, new software development languages that will be easier and easier to learn by other human beings in a way that, yes, maybe not everyone is going to become a software developer, but maybe everyone becomes able to interact with computers in a programmatic way. So, and I say this already from some experience, and obviously all our judgments are based on our experiences. I can't see the future or anything, but if I think about when I started engineering, I studied some programming language, right? And that was C++. Extremely hard to learn in terms of all the syntax that you have to.
What was it?
C++.
Oh.
The syntax that you have to use, the errors that the computer will not forgive you, this type of thing, right? And it was great fun, and you definitely have to use the logic and everything. But when you go to languages today like Ruby or Python, that basically you're starting to talk to them, to use words that are very familiar. Things like what in C++ could be a loop, and you have to iterate over a certain operation. In Ruby, you can say something like 10 times do something, and it's a loop, right? So this type of thing is just a small example of the fact that humans are trying to make it easier for more people to learn how to code. So maybe one day this is going to be much simpler, and you won't have to even go through a 3-month intensive program, but you might learn in a couple of days or in a weekend how to do basic things that are actually programmatic. which is true. I mean, today we can do in Excel, for example, right? Except that it's still not as friendly to the average user, right? You need to go and do the macros and all this thing, but that may be easier in terms of just new languages being created and new ways of doing code. In terms of technology helping us, deal with the world's issues. I mean, that's a huge challenge in terms of how to think about it. I just believe that humans are trying to, generally trying to use technology to help us solve problems such as the climate change. That is a big issue. We are able to use data in better ways to either solve the regular problems that we're solving, or to analyze our bodies and do better at in healthcare. I think one day we may have to use technology to see how we can conserve water or deal with other resources in a better way. But that's something that will evolve in ways that we are hard to imagine. But I do believe that the rate at which this change is going to develop is also hard to imagine, and that just as we can't believe how quickly the past 5 years developed compared to 10 years or 20 years, 50 years ago, then it's going to be the same, right? So this rate, I think it just keeps getting faster, and we just have to adapt as a society to the big things that we actually discover that we can do. So ethical issues are going to be much more important very sooner than we think. Today we participated in the very specific area of reskilling, where we are using a methodology that helps people become software developers in a much quicker time than we were used to 5 or 10 years ago. So if you had to study a 4-year degree to become a software developer, now you can do it in 3 months and a half, and you can actually earn a job that is fully paid through that. It's very intense, but it's a way, and we actually focus on people that this is open to people that not necessarily have a specific background. So it's really anyone. So this career switching, reskilling, is precisely where we are participating. We're also participating in the fact that there's a strong scarcity of people with the skills to continue this development of technology in the world. So actually, that's actually the main reason that this model was born back in 2010, 2012 in the US. So yeah, I would say we're participating in those two ways, and in terms of the way we're evolving, we're participating in a market that is as we were saying, it's underdeveloped, particularly compared to the markets where this model has been successful. This model of education has been successful, right? So we're evolving particularly around the financing side. So as is another trend, fintech is a big thing in developing market. Well, in general, and in Mexico specifically, it's a big let's say developing industry. Latin America in general, and it's true that in underdeveloped countries we have the problem of access to financing, right? So that's why models like Kiva in the US are born, and they actually work with partners globally to help people get access to financing. We have a ton of fintechs in Mexico doing exactly that, doing just financing for people that didn't have access. So we are incorporating this into the bootcamp model, such that we can actually give access to everyone in these markets to this type of education, because it's really something that's it's not cheap, and in more developed markets where all this financing is much more accessible, it was really quick and easy to actually create these financing programs for people that may not have been able to pay it, because it's already in the system. Here, much harder. We're having to work with these innovative companies giving access to financing so that we can incorporate it into our model. And I mean, we are definitely thinking about doing our own type of financing. We already do it in a certain way, the financing piece, and we may do even more. In terms of further than the financing, more about what we actually teach. We just have to be evolving all the time. So yes, we started with a certain curriculum, but the way in which we adapt to what's coming is we definitely on one side see the trends that are happening in the world, such as the availability of data and the use of data and the monetization of data that so many companies are doing, and how that is going to affect so many other companies in different industries, such that they will need a lot of data analysts. So here I'm talking about potential new programs. Having data analytics programs is something that is coming, and we look at trends like that to think about programs in the future. And then in terms of the programs that we have today, we just are always keeping up with the changes. So now we teach JavaScript, and there's changes in frameworks like React, and the new version comes up, and we have to update our curriculum. So things like that, we're actually just monitoring the market all the time, so that we can be up to date at all times. And then obviously we have plans later of doing education remotely as well, and doing using video to do at least part of our education, such that we can reach more people and take advantage of technological solutions to be able to do more. I think that we've been talking about the future and about technology and about coding, reskilling. So I think that people that work in any industry, particularly around strategy departments or departments that are looking at the future, have to be fully in touch with technology and monitor exactly what's going on in their industry and in similar industries in order to bring innovation to their companies through technology. I really think that's the way that all industries are being revolutionized right now. So it's a no-brainer that if you are in a department of innovation or such, that you have to be really in touch about how technology affects your business and how you can understand it even better. Then for everybody in general, I think we've been saying in a couple different comments how we will be much more in technology ourselves, no matter what, either by learning how to program in a much easier way, or being the interpreters of outputs of computers, etc. I would encourage everybody to really get into learning something more about technology. It could be digital marketing, it could be simple programming, it could be so many using new tools that come up in your everyday life to be more in touch, but being really open and open to learning all the time. Technological tools is something that I would advise to everybody. And then finally, in terms of all this, the ecosystem that you guys have of startups that are creating new solutions, I would advise them to look at those areas where technology hasn't arrived yet. And by areas, it could be industries, it could be countries, etc., where there's opportunities that are tappable very easily because they have been done either in another place or in a similar industry to have an impact in society. So I think it's really exciting, and we have to learn how to manage this whole thing. But yeah, it's exciting times, and I'm glad that there's organizations like Seedstars supporting developing markets and develop, in actually come up with innovations either through corporations that are there already or through startups because it's something that has been lacking for a while, and at least now SoftBank said that they're going to invest in this region, so hopefully you guys will talk to them very soon.
Yeah, definitely.